Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minutes with myself, Michael BURGIO, Mark Novak, with our sexy intro that pumps us up before our little chat. And this morning, Mark and I are going to talk about learning to earn money, our tips and tricks, and our thoughts on training. We do a lot of in-house training, a lot of external training. We just had our CBD points with the beautiful Rosie Sullivan yesterday. Mark, training, love it. How are you?
Good, buddy. It's training's cheap.
Yeah.
Training's cheap. You know, when you look at the power it has to change the rest of your life, training disciplines are actually cheaper, and you don't need to read the book of training in order to implement the good principles. Hey, like we learned that.
Yep.
You were saying this morning when we were getting ready for the segment about it's just like a little nugget. It's just like a little thing that you've got to take away. So as an example, one of the biggest changes we've had in our business, remember from one of our changes, what was that?
Well, one of them was, I'm just making sure we're on Novak. One of the ones, like, I think the main thing, just before we get into the technical side, like, training is key. You've got to be doing that training each year, even if it's not mandatory. You've got to stay relevant. Like, there's the old saying, basically, if you don't continue learning, you're going backwards. Just like if you're not moving forward, you're going backwards. So you got to keep educating yourself. New word.
Educating. We just decided last night with Claire from the office that we're gonna, all the words you invent every day you invent a new word. We're gonna actually make a series on those new words. Educating is another one.
Educating, that's a good one. But there's always a fine line keeping it so people still know what I'm talking about. That's an art form. It takes a lot of educating.
Yeah, it's true. You still manage to work it out. But tell me, can you answer this question? I just thought of it just then.
Yes.
What is the difference between, why is it when you go to the gym you go to train, whereas when you seek education you go to train, but it's a different form of training? So when you go to the gym, your training is generally repetition. You're doing the same thing over and over. But when you're training for an education, it's new stuff you're learning all the time.
Yeah, and that's exactly right as well.
Are we on Novak channel?
I just shared it. Oh, Rosie's on educating. How are you, Rosie? I can't wait for Thursday training. Yeah. So, and you're exactly right. I think a lot of people, like when you're doing physical training, you're really trying to improve yourself with that art. Like you do, let's say you do bicep curls. You don't just do it once and stop. But I find a lot of time with educating, people just pass it and forget it. But there's so much more you can learn within. Hey, Admiral, you can learn within, like just getting 50%. It's almost like you should really be striving to get yourself, even if you've done the course 50, but try to understand 90, 100% of it. Don't just stop, but also continue to do a variety of training. But you've
got to understand, and everyone's got to understand, if you are doing the training and you are not enjoying the training, you are not the problem, and the training is not the problem. You're training the wrong thing. Like life's too short to have to do training that you don't enjoy. So if you don't enjoy real estate training, you shouldn't be a bloody real estate agent, because you don't enjoy the art. You don't enjoy the business of real estate. If you don't enjoy going to the gym and doing push-ups and sit-ups and stuff like that, you're doing the wrong training. So I think part of the beauty of training is do the training that you believe in, that you absorb, that you're passionate about, and it doesn't even feel like you're training. It's like being in a relationship, and you see people that are in relationships that they just don't enjoy it. It takes so much more work. What's that saying about smiling? You need one or two muscles to smile, and you need like 70 or 80 muscles 70 or 100 muscles to frown. Training is the same thing, guys. You've got to be doing stuff that you are passionate about and that you are love, and you will prosper. Very, very important.
Just like, that's where you're going with before with the gym. So if you don't like running, do swimming. And it's just same as training. Like, we had a great training session last night where it was very verbal, but super, you took everything in, but it didn't feel like training because it was very verbal. And I know for myself, I'm more of a dialogue learner or listening. Don't really like reading or writing, but very interactive, the conversational base. But some people may be the total opposite. They need to see the words on the page. They need to write the words down like that way. Or so podcasts, there's many different ways. You've got to, just like at the gym, pick your exercise and go with it. And I think and we also said, what Rosie did last night was an art form, because a lot of people in sales, they're great talkers, they're listeners, because that's what we do. You're in the meeting with a client, and that's how you get notes.
We're naughty school kids. We generally don't have a degree, and we generally stuffed it up in the HSC.
Yeah.
And we have to be educated that way.
Yeah, exactly. And I know there was someone else in the meeting who's probably more wants to write it down, check mark, and all of this. And then we're sort of towards the end, like, we'll do the assessment. Rose like, well, we've basically done it, and went through like, we spoke about that, but it was a free-flowing conversation. So it's an art form from Rosie to know basically who she's dealing with and the style of training, but you're still taking it in. So hats off and to Rosie. But also we're saying, Mark, when it goes to seminars and all that other stuff, what's the key thing you've always said and the secret of when we go as a crew or you just go as an individual? Because I think a lot of people, they go to the training, they hype themselves up, they hear 1,000 things, and they do nothing for the following day, week, or month. What's your view on that? What's your suggestion?
Look, we've got in our sales meeting, we've got a execution wall. So we've got some quite nice white walls in our conference room, and I decided to get up a permanent marker and write all over the walls what we are going to do. Now, it's quite powerful that in training, if you pick one thing, and this is what you're talking about, if you pick a nugget out of your training and you run with that nugget, that is powerful. And people quite often sit there and take 20 points or 50 points or 100 points, or they write down the whole training while they're in training. Just write down one. Pick your poison. Have your one point that you are really passionate about out of the training that you're doing, and just get it done. That's the thing.
It's the key, because let's face it, you're going to hear 10, 20, 30 great things. Like, you're there for a couple of hours and they pick the best of the best. But just like physical training, someone does a fitness seminar and they run 5Ks a day and you got a bung knee, you're like, well, that's not going to do anything well for me. But then you hear someone who they may have been a footballer and they've tweaked they've like got a football resume. Anyway, resume. That's it.
It's your Melbourne accent that does that to you, mate. It's your Melbourne accent.
Yeah. Don't hold it against me. And you just pick the one. Don't, by all means, write down 10, but circle the one you're going to implement. Yeah. And we did that, especially with the Tom Panels training, with WhatsApp groups with our clients. Like, everyone has WhatsApp groups with their friends and that, but he's always communicating.
Even DocuSign.
Yeah. Yes.
5 years ago.
DocuSign.
So the WhatsApp, the groups, and the way we use the WhatsApp group. So this is a trainer sitting there saying, yeah, look, I'm training these guys, I'm training those guys, I'm training these guys. Those guys over there, they use WhatsApp. We're like, oh yeah, we know WhatsApp, we like WhatsApp. Yeah, but what they do is they're not actually sending any information to their clients unless it's in WhatsApp. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, what we actually do is you set up teams. So when you're selling 22 Victor Road, we'll have team 22 Victor Road. We will include the owners. And here's the catch. If there is a brother and sister and a brother-in-law that own the property, you include all three, not just one. Yeah. the most diplomatic way. If you have support members looking after you as a salesperson, you include them. And then everyone, the whole team is involved. So any single thing that happens on that property gets documented, gets ledgered, and everyone is aware of what's happening. Now, where it's important is these are people selling an asset worth $1 or $2 million. Of course, they want to know every single thing you do along the way. And WhatsApp allowed us to educate and tell our owners what we were doing every moment of the day as a team amongst each other. We would openly communicate, even if it wasn't particularly relevant to the client, but the client could see how much work we were doing for their property. So contracts, videos, video updates, photos, floor plans, text, everything went into WhatsApp. And then we also installed WhatsApp onto all of our desktops. So what was on our phone was on our desktop, so we could drag and drop shit from our desktop straight onto our WhatsApp message.
Because what I love about that, like especially as an agent, think about it this way: you got feedback from a buyer, and if you got 4 owners, because I've had 9 owners before, we were selling commercial property.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, imagine if I had to call all 9 owners to relay the same message. I could have, and then have their feedback and questions. I could have spent more time. I could have called all the buyers on my database by the time I just relayed one feedback and offer to them. But the beautiful thing with WhatsApp, I can just say, hey guys, show them through their feedback, their offer. What do you think? And then they can communicate with themselves about it, and they come back to me. So it's just amazing everything to do with it. So I really...
Also it's cross-platform. So we started doing it on iMessage, but you'd get that one naughty person on a Samsung and it would blow up the whole team. So that's why WhatsApp was a workaround for it as well.
Yeah, and I just figured out something amazing. I can add pages in the live call mark from StreamYard and Facebook. So for some reason it didn't go to our Facebook page, Novak HQ, and you can actually do it live. And I've just done it live, added through StreamYard on Thingo. So that's a great hack. If you're ever streaming and you cross-post multiple pages, you can actually add. See, Luke, good morning. You can add live. Luke, just letting you know, I found something cool because I know you cross-post a bit and stream on multiple pages. Let's say you've started the stream and you forgot to click a page. You can add them live. I've just done it through Facebook, through StreamYard, added a page. So I know it's good to host it through a page and you can boost it. So that's just epic. I took the risk of ruining the live session, but you've got to take the risk. I think that's a wrap, Mark.
Another one as well, DocuSign. And you've sort of got to be a little bit ballsy with all this stuff, with training and implementing training. You've got to be a little bit crazy as well and have a go. So I remember Tom Panos came up with DocuSign. He's like, mate, I got a client that's selling 30 properties a month. Every single property he sells, he has to get a buyers. Like there's at least one buyer, there's at least one seller. So bang, there you go there. So that's straight away. How many people is that straight away? 60, right? Then if there's 2 on each side, now you're up to 120 signatures. So, 120 signatures a month, this cat was getting all from DocuSign. And this is 5 years ago when Zoom wasn't around, DocuSign wasn't around, like people just weren't using this stuff. We went on and thought, hang on a sec, we're getting 60 signatures a month from tenants. And then if there's 2 tenants, well, that adds up to 120 signatures. And then so we started running all of our lease signing 5 years ago through DocuSign, and it bloody exploded. A lot of people, we had the hardest bit, believe it or not, was not using the technology. The hardest bit was teaching people how to use the technology. So, and then as a person, you can also very easily give up. Now, guys, you must admit this. You can easily say, yeah, that's a great idea, and it's just so hard to actually implement because you're always educating people. You're always getting knocked back. We stuck with it. We have done over probably 3,000 to 4,000 signatures now, probably more like 5,000 signatures on DocuSign. It has saved us you're talking years of labour, through
for sales agents driving everywhere. Like,
Yep.
put it this way, if you're doing 10 deals that month and you got even little half-hour driving trips, but 4 times, so it's almost 2 hours of driving per deal. That's 20 hours in the month, 10 deals, 2 hours. 20 hours, you're losing half a week, like a month. So half a week each month. By the end of the year, you've lost 2 months just in driving. So, and not to mention the lease signing. The lease signing is because everyone they work. So you're extending your day to doing it before work, 7 till 9, or doing it after 6 till 9 p.m. for lease signing. So you're putting labor to cover it all.
Half a day off. Everyone was taking half a day off work.
Yes. Yeah. Same with Zoom routine inspections. So we do it through YouTube, a private link. So you do the video. There's Margaret.
Yeah,
Margaret,
Anmal's got an animal way to do routine inspections on Zoom, which we're going to try to implement. And look, guys, get the training, implement the training. Don't be a hero with just take one little fella, get it right, and then take another little fella. That's some of our training at Novak.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for jumping on. And if you tuned in late because we weren't on the main Novak page until sort of towards the end, apologies there, but you will be able to rewind and have a look through. But thank you, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 7:45.
Love ya. See ya. Have a great day. Wednesday.
Bye.
Woo.
Wednesday.